A long table, candles, wine, 14 people laughing so hard the glasses shake. You're at the corner, fork still, watching. Your cousin's hand finding her husband's knee under the table. Not affection, a warning. Your father's foot tapping a rhythm that doesn't match the music. Your nephew pressing his back into the chair like he's trying to disappear into the wood. The whole room is having a wonderful time. And you're reading the rough draft underneath. That's not overthinking. That's a frequency most people were never tuned to. If you are someone who walks into a room and immediately senses the tension nobody has mentioned, if you have ever known a relationship was ending before the couple did, if people have called you too sensitive, paranoid, or exhausting because you noticed something they were not ready to see, welcome. What lives inside your head is not a flaw. It is one of the most powerful cognitive systems the human brain can run. And it comes with a cost that almost nobody talks about. Society has a predictable response to people who see too much. You are overthinking. You are being paranoid. You are reading into things. The assumption is that the social surface is the truth and that anyone who sees past it is inventing problems. But here is what is actually happening inside your brain. Researchers call it thin slicing, the ability to extract accurate judgments from extremely small amounts of behavioral data. Your subconscious is processing hundreds of nonverbal signals simultaneously. Tone of voice, posture shifts, the direction of a gaze, the speed of a blink. Dr. Paul Ekman spent decades studying what he called micro-expressions, involuntary facial movements that flash across a face in less than a quarter of a second, revealing the real emotion underneath the social mask. Most people never register them. Your brain catches them automatically. It is not paranoia. It is high-speed pattern recognition running in the background without your permission. And there is one specific psychological trap that this perception creates. And it explains why the people who see the most often end up the most alone. We will get there. But first, here is where it gets uncomfortable, even for you. When your brain detects an inconsistency between what someone says and what their body communicates, it does not just flag it. It goes further. It activates what psychologists call theory of mind, the capacity to model another person's internal state. You do not just see the lie, you see the reason behind it. You look at the boss who is shouting, and you see a person terrified of losing control. You look at the friend who keeps bragging, and you see an abyss of insecurity. Your brain strips the mask and reads the wiring underneath. That sounds like a superpower, and in many ways it is. But here is the part that challenges something you probably believe about yourself. You likely assume your readings are always accurate, that your gut never lies. But the research on confirmation bias tells a different story. Once your brain forms a hypothesis about someone, they are being fake, they are hiding something. It selectively filters all incoming data to confirm that hypothesis and ignores anything that contradicts it. Your perception is extraordinary, but it is not infallible. And the moment you treat it as absolute truth rather than a signal worth verifying, it stops being insight and starts becoming a cage you built yourself. But wait, that is only the cognitive layer. The emotional cost goes much deeper. Remember the trap I mentioned earlier? Here it is. The Cassandra effect. In Greek mythology, Cassandra could see the future with perfect clarity, but she was cursed so that nobody would ever believe her. People who see through social masks live a modern version of this every day. You spot the manipulator at the dinner party. You sense the collapse of a friendship before anyone else does. You see the red flags on the first date that will take the other person 6 months to notice. And when you say something, when you name what you see, the room turns on you. You are too negative. You are too judgmental. You are ruining the mood. Because human society runs on shared performance. Polite lies, social masks. And when you shine a light into the corner, everyone agreed to keep dark. You become the threat. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because the next trap is the one you build for yourself. Let us be honest about something. When the world punishes you for seeing too much, you learn to stop sharing what you see. But you do not stop seeing. And that is where the second trap opens. The detective loop. Because you cannot trust what others say, you begin to trust only your own analysis. A compliment from a partner is never just a compliment. Your brain immediately asks what they want. A gift feels like guilt compensation. A delayed text message becomes evidence of a slow withdrawal. You live in permanent surveillance mode. Not because you are paranoid, because your history has taught you that the people who seemed the safest were often the most dangerous. Picture this. It is a Friday evening. You are at a friend's birthday dinner. Everyone is laughing, the candles are lit, and you are sitting there watching the host's partner glance at someone across the table a fraction of a second too long. Nobody else noticed, but your brain logged it, filed it, and is already running 3 possible scenarios. And you cannot say a word because the last time you said something like this, you lost the friendship. And there is one more layer to this that almost nobody talks about. The reason people who see everything end up feeling the most invisible. And also, the next part explains why the people who understand everyone are almost never understood themselves. Here is the cruelest irony. Because you read people so well, you know exactly what they need before they say it. You become the one who always knows the right thing to say, the right moment to listen, the right gesture to offer. People around you feel deeply seen, but the exchange is never mutual. Nobody reads you the way you read them. They assume you are too strong, too perceptive, too self sufficient to need anything. The person who sees everyone becomes the one nobody sees. Now, it would be easy to stop here and tell you that your perception is a gift, and in many ways it is. But there is a harder truth. For some people, seeing everything is not clarity, it is a wall. If you can predict how every relationship will end, you never have to risk being surprised. If you can spot every flaw in every person, you never have to trust anyone fully. And over time, the perception that was meant to protect you becomes the thing that keeps you alone. Not because people left, but because you never let them get close enough to stay. So it is worth asking honestly, do you see through people because it helps you navigate the world? Or because seeing through them is easier than letting them see through you? Because one is wisdom, the other is armor pretending to be a window. Here is what I need you to hear. You are not paranoid. You are not too much. You are not broken because you see what others miss. Your brain runs a program that most people do not have access to. It reads the room before the room reads itself. That is not a flaw. That is depth over surface, signal over noise, pattern over performance. You are not too sensitive. You are not overthinking. You are just processing the world at a resolution that most people's brains were never built to handle. And the exhaustion you feel is not weakness. It is the price of seeing in high definition while everyone else watches in standard. Here is a framework worth saving: the 3-filter rule. The next time your brain flags an inconsistency, run it through 3 questions before you react. 1. Is this something I actually saw or something I am assuming based on a past pattern? 2. Does this affect my safety or well-being, or is it just information? 3. If I say nothing, will I regret it in a week? If the answer to the first is assumption, pause. If the answer to the second is just information, let it pass. And if the answer to the third is no, give yourself permission to set it down. You do not have to act on everything you see. Seeing it is enough. Your mind is not a curse, it is a lighthouse. And the fact that not everyone can see the beam does not mean the rocks are not there.